Imagine sitting at your desk, and every annoying computer task you do is quietly handled by a handful of AI websites that feel less like tools and more like invisible team members. Right now, most people still treat AI websites as toys, text boxes, image generators, little hacks. But the sites we're about to move through are quietly rewriting how workdays actually run. Documents that write themselves, meetings that don't need to happen, visuals that appear from a sentence, and agents that move across the web doing the boring parts for you. Welcome to FutureTech World TV, where we explore how intelligent systems are quietly rebuilding the way humans work and build. These aren't random, cool apps. Think of this as a 10-piece toolkit that, combined, can replace entire layers of manual work. And yes, this really is about finding AI websites you'll wish you'd discovered months ago, because they don't just save time, they change how you think about what a one-person team can realistically push into the world. Stay with me until the end, because in the final stretch, we'll stitch this into a single chain. How these sites combine into a workflow that runs a disturbing amount of your digital life on autopilot. If you write, design, build products, manage teams, run a solo business, or just operate in front of a screen all day, what follows maps directly onto how valuable your next few years of work can be. Think about a normal Tuesday morning. Inbox flashing, Slack pinging, 5 tabs of "I'll get to this later" staring back at you. Now imagine half of that low-level chaos quietly handled in the background while you stay locked on the one thing that actually moves the needle. Even if AI still feels like extra complexity stacked on top of everything else, something subtle is already happening. People who learn to delegate to these systems are beginning to move with a different kind of pace, protecting attention while others are still tab-switching themselves into burnout. Because the real gap isn't who uses AI versus who doesn't. It's between people who paste prompts into random chatbots and people who quietly assemble small systems around them. These 10 sites are system pieces. So here's a question to park in the back of your mind. If a set of AI tools could credibly take over 30 to 50% of your routine screen work, how much of that responsibility would you actually hand over? Let's start with the brain of the operation. Number 1. Perplexity, your research analyst that doesn't get tired. Perplexity looks like just another AI chat box until you notice it doesn't just answer, it shows its homework. It pulls in live sources, shows you exactly where claims came from, and lets you dive deeper without living in 10 copy-pasted tabs. Used well, it becomes the default way to scan a topic, compare perspectives, and extract the 20% of information that actually matters for a decision. For strategy docs, content roadmaps, market scans, and technical overviews. That's the difference between "I Googled around" and "I understand the landscape." You're probably thinking this sounds like overkill compared to a normal search. The twist is, once you've done a few serious projects with a tool like this, going back to 10 open tabs suddenly feels broken. Making better decisions faster isn't a nerd flex. It's one of the few remaining edges that compounds. Number 2. Claude. Long-form thinking without the burnout. If Perplexity is your scout, Claude is the colleague you hand the big, messy problem to. It's built for long context, huge transcripts, sprawling PDFs, dense documentation, and for turning that chaos into something structured. Summaries, plans, argument maps, outlines, drafts. Imagine dropping a 60-page spec, a pile of meeting notes, and a rough idea into one place, and getting back a clean, structured blueprint you can actually execute. That isn't shaving a few minutes off your day. That's reclaiming entire afternoons of cognitive load. And once this becomes normal, something flips for knowledge work. The bottleneck stops being "how long does it take to write?" and becomes "how clearly can you define what should exist?" That's where these systems matter. They turn clarity of thought into leverage, not typing speed. Number 3. Notion AI, a second brain that actually tidies itself. Notion started as a flexible workspace. With Notion AI baked in, it quietly becomes something else. A living knowledge base that can rewrite, summarize, and reorganize itself while you keep moving. You draft a messy meeting page? It turns it into clean action items and next steps. You have 50 scattered notes on a project? It rolls them into a single high-level overview with links back to the details. Over time, It stops feeling like a notebook and starts to feel like a project manager that thinks in structured writing. If you've ever watched an important idea disappear into your own chaotic notes, this is what it looks like when the system starts fighting for your clarity instead of against it. Number 4. Gamma. Presentations without PowerPoint pain. Presentations used to mean open slides, wrestle with layouts, tweak fonts, drag in images, question your life choices. Gamma flips that. You write your idea in plain language and it generates structured, designed decks and documents that actually look presentable. It's like handing your rough thinking to an invisible designer and saying, "Turn this into something people won't hate sitting through." Now imagine the chain. Perplexity does the research, Claude structures the narrative, Gamma turns it into a deck, and Notion stores the final version with all the context linked and searchable. That's not a parlor trick. That's an end-to-end workflow that used to take days, compressed into hours. The uncomfortable part is realizing how much of your current busy day is just you manually doing what this stack can now orchestrate in the background. Once you see it that way, it gets harder to pretend that opening more tabs is the same thing as doing more work. Right about now, part of you might be wondering where your unique value fits if so much of the busy work gets automated. That question is exactly why this matters. At that point, the real game isn't how fast can you make slides, it's how sharply can you define the story you're telling. Number 5. Leonardo AI image generation tuned for actual projects. Most people know AI art as random, chaotic images. Leonardo is tuned for things you can actually ship. Product renders, concept art, marketing visuals, and styles you can keep coming back to as part of a brand. Instead of buying stock photos on repeat or waiting days for custom visuals, you describe what you need, then iterate. Over time, you build reusable styles that start to feel like a visual language for your projects. For teams that ship a lot, landing pages, campaigns, decks, internal docs, this isn't a novelty filter. It's the early shape of visual production infrastructure. Number 6. Pika. Video generation that starts from your ideas, not your gear. Short-form motion is the default language of the internet, but not everyone has cameras, studios, or editors on call. Pika lets you generate or transform video from text, images, or rough clips, leaning into stylized creative motion. It won't replace a full production team for high-end commercial work, but for mock-ups, concept pieces, motion backgrounds, or quick explainer loops, it's already enough to change how fast a small team can test ideas in motion. Would you hand an AI-generated clip the job of representing your brand? Some already do. Others treat it as a draft and then hand the project to human editors. Either way, the cost of trying something on video is collapsing. Number 7. Runway. A post-production lab in your browser. Runway leans into video editing, generative fill, background removal, and now text-to-video. But the point is that advanced post-production starts to feel more like playing with ideas than wrestling timelines. In practical terms, that means you can iterate more, test more, and experiment with visual storytelling without a full studio pipeline. For businesses, that's lower friction on creative experimentation. For solo creators, it's access to a level of polish that used to demand a team. It raises a quiet question. When this level of tooling is considered basic, what does professional really mean? The label or the outcome on screen? Number 8. 11 Labs. Voice as a design variable. We're used to thinking of voice as something you're stuck with. 11 Labs turns it into something you can dial in. You can generate natural-sounding speech in multiple voices and languages, adjust tone, and build entire audio experiences from text. That doesn't just help creators. It changes how training, onboarding, internal content, and even product experiences get built. You can iterate on a script, regenerate the audio in seconds, and treat voice the way we already treat fonts or colors. A design choice inside the system, not a hard constraint at the edge of it. The first time a synthetic voice holds attention as well as a human one, there's usually a brief pause where the implications catch up. If your brain is still tracking with this list, it's probably tuned to systems thinking rather than individual tools. Number 9. Zero by Vercel. From interface ideas to code scaffolds. For years, the bottleneck between "I can picture this app" and "it exists" lived in front-end development time. V0 takes natural language descriptions of interfaces and turns them into working React components and layouts that engineers can immediately start refining. It doesn't remove engineers. It changes what they spend their time on. Less repetitive layout wiring, more architecture, performance, and product logic. If you're non-technical, it means your ideas don't have to stay trapped in mock-ups and slide decks. If you are technical, your starting point shifts from blank file to rough structure you can improve. Number 10. Durable, the business-in-a-box site builder. Durable is built around a simple premise. You describe your business in a few lines, it spins up a website in about a minute, and then you refine from there. On the surface, it's a website builder. At a deeper level, it's a question about friction. If standing up a decent-looking online presence becomes this cheap in time and energy, how many potential experiments never had a good excuse for not existing? There are limits. Templates can feel generic if you never customize them. Not every business should move at this speed. But for tests, landing pages, or a V1 public face, the friction is now close to zero. So let's zoom out. What you've just seen isn't really 10 cool AI websites. It's the skeleton of a new kind of Workday. Perplexity and Claude digest the world for you. Notion AI keeps your brain and projects organized. Gamma, Leonardo, Pika, and Runway turn ideas into decks, images, and motion. 11 Labs gives those ideas a voice. V0 and Durable push them out into real interfaces and public spaces. In simple terms, one person with these tools operates more like a small studio than a solo worker. Look out a few years and the questions get sharper. If these capabilities keep improving, and all current signals suggest they will, the line between team and individual keeps blurring for digital work. Around the 5-year mark, that's where this gets serious. Which roles turn into orchestration jobs? Which ones become oversight and judgment? Which ones quietly disappear into the tooling as these systems mature? Somewhere underneath all of this sits an uncomfortable possibility. We may still be underestimating how fast this level of automation becomes ordinary. So take a moment with this. Of everything we've walked through, which of these sites would actually change how you work if you leaned into it fully? And underneath that, what does this do to the shape of work in, say, 5 years? More freedom, more pressure, or both, layered on top of each other? If you're thinking in terms of workflows rather than one-off demos, you're already operating in the space these tools are really designed for. Because at the core, this isn't about websites. It's about leverage, attention, focus, and the ability to shape systems instead of being shaped by them. And if any of these platforms feel relevant, treat the details as moving targets. Pricing, features, and free tiers can change. Always check the official sites for the latest reality before you commit anything important to them. The key platforms we've covered are waiting in the description if you want to unpack them deeper on your own time. Most people will hear ideas like this nod once and slide back into the exact same week they had before. A tiny minority will quietly rebuild how they work around tools like these. If you've made it this far, you're already part of the small group of people actually thinking about workflows, not just watching AI demos. That alone is going to separate careers as this wave keeps hitting. Seriously, I appreciate you staying till the end. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay ahead in AI and tech, subscribe and turn on the bell notifications for more insights. Like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe the real shift isn't just that machines are getting smarter. It's that the signal of what one focused human can do with them is starting to get a lot harder to ignore. If you circle back to this later, you'll probably catch patterns you didn't notice on the first listen. Watch how this idea connects to everything we're building next. As these systems keep evolving, one pattern is already clear. The future belongs to those who build with AI, not just those who watch it happen.